that is the main thing. Hello. You're working. You're still working. Catch my breath. Right, guys, welcome back to the Stalking Shadows Podcast. And today you can see I've got a guest with me. This is Tim Wheeless, all the way from Georgia in the States. And Tim was our hunt winner in 2023. You came out. Yeah. So, guys, this is going to be an epic adventure we're going to tell you about. Loads has happened in the last 10 days. So let's dive in. Right, Tim, where do you want to start, bud? Because we have had one epic safari with, I think, every form of up and down you can think of, emotional roller coasters, rain. You are definitely the rain man. There's no doubt about it. Every time I hunt with you,
yes,
I need my flippers, goggles, wetsuits. We get pissed on for days. and that was like true fashion from picking you up at the airport.
From the start, yeah.
And we got rained on.
Yeah, so that, last time was a 7-day hunt. And 5 of the 7 days we got rained out.
Yeah.
We were fortunate this time that I think it was just the first 2.5 days that we got here and it rained. But man, it was a lot of rain and a lot of wind. And the surf on the beach that we saw.
Yeah.
I know there was someone else that we talked to that said that, very seldom do you see it like that. So it was quite a storm.
It was wild. It was wild. So guys, Tim's come out for his second trip, and he's one of the guys who took the gamble on booking, or not booking, but he took a gamble on one of my Instagram posts and won the hunt. He's come out, did that 7-day hunt, and then said, Wayne, I'm coming back to Africa and I want to hunt a Cape buffalo. Can you sort me out? So with a few bit of planning backwards and forwards, Tim wanted to hunt a buff on the first trip. Didn't all plan out, but we got some awesome animals then. And then we put this trip together with buff being the main goal of this whole thing. And then we got stuck in a lodge for a day and a half. But we got hunting really, really hard. And this time round, Tim got to experience a different hunting area than what we hunted before, and a slightly more upmarket lodge, may we call it that, instead of this rustic ass cabin that we're sitting in now.
This is great, man.
Where we finished up our trip. So you can share with the guys kind of what that type of accommodation was like, what hunting we did there, and you can just run them through your buff hunt.
Yes. The accommodations you have here are absolutely amazing, and I love it. It kind of reminds me a little bit of, where I grew up with my grandparents, and the place that they lived in North Carolina in the Smoky Mountains, and it just feels more like hunting to me. But of course, I've gone to some of these bigger lodges and places that I've stayed in different countries in Africa, and one of the things I love about Africa is the service. And no matter where I've been, the people that look after you want to serve you, and that includes you here and Alex. Y'all doing an incredible job of taking care of everyone that comes here. But yeah, it was different. We stayed at I guess we call it a posh lodge.
Posh lodge, yeah.
And we had brunch cooked for us every day. We go out and hunt in the morning, come back and have brunch, and then go back out again in the afternoon. But the exciting thing, I didn't care where I stayed. I've had a goal for almost 20 years now of hunting a Cape buffalo.
Yeah.
And you watch all the YouTube videos and you see all the other experiences that everyone has, and when that time comes to have that experience, you kind of have in your mind what you want. You know? And nobody in their right mind wants that buffalo charge. I mean, you're sick in the head if you want that.
You
want to go out you want to have the exciting hunt, have the experience of actually coming face to face with that buffalo, handling it the way that you've got to handle it, so that no one gets hurt, and it's just a great memory for you. And then you absolutely provided that on this hunt for me.
Oh shit, man! I appreciate all the kind words. So we started out picking up Tim at the airport, and like I said, it's rained. So we get to the lodge, we get all set up, and I'd say to Tim, man, let's just take a drive. We're not. It's late in the afternoon. It's too late to get out and start hunting. Rifles have been checked. Everything's zeroed. We're super happy with it. And we go out and we bump into the first lot of buffalo, and we see this buff herd. And this property is beautifully managed. It's a awesome property on the Indian Ocean. Thick sea bush. If any of you have visited the Eastern Cape, and for those of you who have visited, will understand what I'm talking about. Thick bushveld. And it's coastal bushveld, as we call it. And we can drive you in 2 hours in any direction, and we can change the scenery quite drastically. And we come around this bend, and as true as nuts, we bump into the first herd of buffalo. So we take some awesome pictures. We take the time to enjoy this. We go another 100 yards down, and we spot this big-ass bull, which is the main herd bull, and this real old, gnarly dugger boy. But the two of them seem to look like they've been kicked out the herd. So, yeah, I showed Tim. There are a bunch of other bulls on this property. I just recently hunted with 2 other clients from the States, and we bumped into a group of 7 in a bachelor herd, and the 2 bulls we eventually hunted weren't even part of the 7 that we found.
Right.
So it's one of those places that I've said to a lot of people, it's very, very deceiving. Gives you this false feeling of, this is going to be easy. Well, we had our asses handed us on the plate a few times. It was tough.
Close calls too.
A couple of close calls, but it was tough. So that was day 1, and it was just this lovely little feeling of like, okay, cool. And the next morning we woke up to torrential downpour.
Downpour rain. Yeah. I can't even remember. Did we even go out that morning, or we just decide, no, we're going to go handle some other thing? Like we went.
I think we drove, and as we got to the one hill, it was like, no, this is not even going to let up, because I went out in the morning. I was like, there's a gap, and we had this. It was crazy. It was coming through in big showers.
Yeah.
So, but like absolute downpour showers. And guys, if you can hear the rain on a thatched roof, you know it's raining outside. It's not a tin roof. It's not a slate roof. It's not a tiled roof. If you can hear it on a thatched roof, you know it's raining outside. So yeah, we took off to the taxidermy, which was a great opportunity. And I think for most guys coming out, do your taxidermy visit at the beginning of your hunt. Gives you great ideas. You get to see a bunch of different species, and you get to imagine what your animal will look like on the wall. Yeah. And it's easier for you to have that idea to pass on to the taxidermist.
Yeah, and we even came up with another plan that kind of altered, what I had thought about hunting.
Yeah.
When we were looking at taxidermy, which we'll kind of get into that when we tell the story, but it kind of shifted what I was going to hunt some because of the way I wanted to put my animals up. Going there was a great idea.
Yeah. So guys, as a tip, pro tip, if you really want to call it, head on to your taxidermist. I would say from the airport, go see who your if possible. I know some places you're going to be hunting are quite rural and far out of the way to the taxidermy, and guys like doing it afterwards. But I do think it's a great opportunity to go and see him, chat to him. We chatted to Greg. He had a bunch of different buffalo poses there. You had an idea of a pedestal pose. Then we saw a couple of the others, and then eventually Tim spotted the one that I talk about and I like, and that is the one where you owe me money, sucker. That look, that is the true epic buffalo stance. Yes. And that is definitely, I think, what you're going to go for.
That's what I'm going for. I love the pose, and it's going to work well. The room that I have for my trophy room has only got 8-foot ceilings, so to be able to bring him down right at near eye level, where everyone's looking at him as soon as they walk in the room, it's going to be impressive.
Well, that's going to be epic. So guys, that was our day 1. Eh? We ended up at a restaurant, just stayed dry, stayed warm. And the next morning, we decided we're going to get up nice and early and get after them buff. But we also didn't realize it was full moon. So we had the rain against us and we had full moon. And any avid hunter knows full moon is a pain in the ass when it comes to hunting. Anything that has to come out the bush, bushbuck, kudu, most of your stuff feeds at night and they bed down all day.
Yep.
So we had our work cut out for us, and I really do think we worked hard at this and pulled off some amazing animals. And as we get onto this, you're going to see what we're talking about here. So yeah, just follow them into that first day. Obviously, first time in the area, and a completely different area to what I hunted you when you came out.
Yeah, like you said, it was a lot thicker.
Yeah.
I know, some of the places that we hunt here on your place, there's patches of thick stuff, but this wasn't just patches. I mean, the roads that we were driving were so narrow in places that you couldn't see in.
Yeah, you can't see into the bush.
You can't see in or under it, and so there could have been a buffalo standing 2 bushes beyond the edge of the roadway, and you never would know it was there if it hadn't come out. But that second day was a day that we're riding around, we're trying to find buffalo, we haven't seen anything, and we turned left to go down one of these trails, and Wayne starts. We've got to start putting on our own jaunty.
Yeah. Now guys, for some information, jaunty. We both watched the podcast from This is Africa, TIA, and it was an epic episode. And we were chatting about it in the truck, and they had. If you haven't watched the guy thing, go and watch it on their YouTube channel, where the guy talks about the voodoo that they had. They went to see this witch doctor or whoever, and she was singing this jaunty. So I cracked up. I said, we need our own witch doctor magic here. So I started my buffalo song. Tim thought I was crazy.
As soon as he started that buffalo song, I looked at him and I said, I'm going to trip out if you get around this corner and there's buffalo standing in the road. And that is exactly what happened, man. It was crazy.
As true as nuts, we come around this corner and he has a buff cow and a calf. Man, I was gobsmacked. I looked at Tim and my words were, you shitting me? Back the truck up, get out of there. Let them settle. They hadn't seen us yet. They were just grazing along and feeding in the thick bushes. And we decided to put a stalk on them.
Yeah. Walk down that road, and that's the first moment that it got real. Because I think it's the first time I stepped out with a rifle on a stalk.
Got real
with buffalo, and I just remember thinking to myself how narrow that road was, and you and I both had commented, if we have to run into this, there's no running through
this. We're going to bounce off it. You know what I mean? There's no quarterback or a linebacker, I should say, who's going to take this shit on. You're going to bounce clean off it. And I'm not the smallest guy, and Tim is tall. Guys, this man's like 6'4", and I'm a short little fat guy. I ain't going to go through that thing like a warthog. I'm going to bounce clean off of it. Tim's going to maybe step on top of it as we
I might be able to dive over it and get over the top of it.
Or lie on top of the thick stuff. So we start this little stalk of ours, because obviously we'd seen the buff now had fed off. But guys, you must remember, this is Africa. We're hunting. There's loads of other species around. We had giraffe that we were contesting with there. And if anyone hunts giraffe, it's like animal the periscope. They've got clear line of sight, head down, checking out wherever you're walking around and stalking. So on this stalk, it was myself, Tim, he had his son Hudson with him, and then the tracker Blackie, and we spotted them going into some thicker stuff, and we got a little closer and we could actually smell them.
Yeah.
But I was saying to Tim, this place is really tricky, because you can get out on a lookout point and have the wind blowing in one direction, and then as soon as you drop down into the flat area, it's so deceiving. It swirls, it swings on you the whole time, and then you've got all these little valleys which you think are just like little divots on the side of the road, and they're actually probably 30-40 meters down. They're deep valleys. And I think also with having the ocean so close by, I found every time the change of the tide, where it was pushing high tide or low tide, gave us a different wind direction, especially when we were hunting close up against those sand dunes in that thick stuff. And we decided to walk in a little bit, and I thought, man, I know where this buff cow is. I could see she eating it. We need to try find the rest of the herd. And I came around this one bush with Tim, and I stopped dead in my tracks. I could see the tree moving, and then all of a sudden I could see a buff looking straight at me. And you know, it's one of those, is like, shit, game on now. Which way do we go? It's so thick. It's 5 yards in front of us.
Yeah.
And we're trying to find a bull in a herd of probably 30 to 40 buff that are with this group the whole time. And I think that was where I realized, holy smokes, we're in this now. And that wind hit me on the back of the neck. Well, all chaos broke loose. Yes.
I've never heard crashing like that before.
It's different. It's,
you know, you watch the videos of others doing it, and you hear them talk about it, and you can hear them going this way, but it was just impressive how loud it was. And I mean, knowing how thick that stuff was,
and how those animals moved through it was unreal.
It was crazy.
Yeah. So we had just blown that stalk and blew them out. So we were like really just trying to look for track now. And we'd get onto these lookout points, and Blackie, who's the tracker that was with me, he basically started that ranch with the owner, and he knows where the game is, and he couldn't find it.
Yeah.
We couldn't find it. We hit track, we'd cut track. We'd find another herd of female buff with cows and calves, but we couldn't find the damn bulls. And we hunted hard. That day we also came back really late, hunting in the rain. 1 minute's raining, 1 minute's not raining. Getting wet, getting cold. Getting wet, getting cold. And I think we ended that day 2, and I was like, shit. I thought I'd have a buff done by now.
Yeah, because we were ready to go kudu hunting.
Yeah, that was our next plan. Because Tim doesn't want to tell everyone he's got a unicorn problem there. that Kudu's his unicorn. He's the evil man there. But we like finished the day at least having a few stalks under our belts, hunting our asses off. Like really, it was tough. Yeah. But I think the next morning things changed in us quite quickly. We had some exciting stuff happen. So Tim told me that he was interested in a caracal. So most of you guys know we hunt cats with dogs, and my neighbor has a cat pack, and I said to him, I've got a client out. Please let me know if you're running your dogs. When you get a cat, let us know. We're going to get there. Or once we've done hunting our buffalo, we'll get you to bring your dogs out to our property and run the dogs for cats while we hunting bushbuck or kudu or waterbuck or whatever we're going after at the time on our property. So we're kind of close. But luckily for us, where he was running his dogs was a 5-minute drive from the property where we were hunting buffalo.
Yeah.
And we headed out that morning. We got out to our lookout point, just wiping off the binoculars that are still a bit wet from the day before. Everyone's trying to keep warm because it's bitterly cold.
Yep. Start
our first glass, and the damn phone call
rings.
came in. The dogs are on a cat. You need to get here now.
I remember, I overheard the phone call, and I knew what was going on, and I went back to the truck, and Hudson was with us.
Yeah.
And he was like, where are we going? What are we doing? I said, just get in the truck. Just get in the truck. We've got to go. And explained it to him when we got in. But, we tore out of there, got down off that lookout point as fast as we could, and drove over to where they had the cat tree. Now I remember pulling up, and the guy whose dogs had tracked it was sitting in the road, and we get out, start talking to him, and Wayne's like, okay, well, where's the cat? How far we got to go? And the guy goes, no, it's just right there.
Yeah, so this awesome gentleman is all Robin Clayton, and he's got a hell of a personality, a hell of a houndsman. He's got some awesome dogs that he uses for blue darker, and then he's got his hounds that he runs for caracal. And he stopped there, and I still think he had a cigarette in his hand, and he was like, there's the cat there. And I looked up and I was like, oh shit, that is a big cat.
I had never even seen a caracal before, and I just, in looking at it, that's the first thing that went through my mind because of where he was sitting and how far he was from us at that point. That you can make out that much detail on that cat. That's a big cat.
Yeah, so off we march up the hill. Now we got to try and get close enough without the dog stopping on baying this cat, because that cat was already looking down at the dogs and looking for a place to jump. And we managed to get ourselves up the road where we'd stopped. We had to cross through a barbed wire fence to try and get in there. But in this whole time, guys, we're not prepped for a cat hunt, because I said to Tim, I've got an antique double 303 12 gauge shotgun side by side that he could use for his cat hunt. And I didn't take that down where we were because we were hunting buffalo.
Well, and we were thinking it's going to be, like the thick bush that's here and not in the top of a
damn pine tree. Yeah.
So all we had was the 375, and I remember stepping out of the truck, and what was his name?
Oh, Robert. Yeah.
Rob looks at me and goes, "I hope you got a solid, or you're not going to have a cat." So Wayne had to, he had to throw me a solid, and I put it in the pipe as we were going up there to that cat. And I know when we got on the other side of the fence and actually walked up to where we could see the cat. The cat's sitting in the wide part of the tree. And I just remember getting up on the sticks and putting the crosshairs on him. And I told Wayne, I said, "Man, all I've got's a Texas hard shot." Yeah. The way he was turned looking down at the dogs. And then, if you don't know what a Texas hard shot is, you're looking at the rear end of the animal, hoping that you could go through the rear end into the vitals.
Yeah.
And I knew with a solid it would do it, but I wanted to make sure you were okay with me taking that shot. And you were like, "Go for it." And so, shot the cat. The cat falls.
Yeah, it didn't fall very far. So our cat hunt became a retrieval hunt. The cat didn't fall out the tree properly and wedged itself up in the top of this epic pine tree. Yeah. It was a dead pine tree, but for some, we would have thought the cat would have gone and climbed into that to get away from the dogs. And the crazy part is, we've got Hudson. Hudson's got this all on film, and this is his first experience with you on hunting. First time in Africa. And actually seeing an animal get shot. He did a great job of filming for us, so he got it all on film. But the best part for me was when we played back the film, the adrenaline and excitement in that man's voice, and his breathing. It was unbelievable. Having a kid come and experience hunting for the first time, and the excitement you can just hear in him breathing on that camera. Filming that cat.
We talked about that the last podcast we did, because I was at one of the shows, looking around, and my goal is to take every one of my children on some type of international hunt with me, and this happened to be Hudson's turn to go. And the same thing happened 2 years ago with Dash, my oldest son, when we were on Vancouver Island in that bear hunt. He tried to film the shot on the bear, but all he got was all of our asses and some of the ground, and you just barely see the bear run through the corner of the camera. But I still keep that video even though you don't see the shot, because you can hear as soon as that first and second shot, first two shots go off on that bear, you can hear him with that that type of breathing, just the adrenaline and the excitement of him getting to experience that. It's good.
So we had an awesome start to our Day 3.
Yeah, we got the cat now.
And
that thing stretched the tape too.
Man, that was a big cat. Guys, it's definitely by far the biggest cat I've hunted with a client. Not the biggest cat, mine's bigger than yours. We'll have to see when Greg mounts it. We put a tape from nose to tail to see whose is bigger. But that was an absolute monster of a cat. Shit. We had such a great start to that. We thanked Rob. We hopped in the truck and we were like, "Shit, we back to buff hunting, guys. Change it," and off we went again. And back to the concession, and it was a really good day, all in all, weather-wise. But the wind picked up. I think that wind with that full moon, and it just blew.
Nothing wanted to come out.
Nothing. And this is a property, guys, that has, I want to say, hundreds of nyala on it, and hundreds of nyala bulls, and The blessbuck, there are plenty. We were seeing a few blessbuck here and there. We'd see a few zebra here and there, a couple of impala, and this place is so well stocked. And I drove around the rest of it, and I remember saying to the owner's daughter who runs the place there, going, I have seen one Yala bull all day. And you can count normally from their front gate to the lodge, probably 12 to 15 Yala bulls. And this place is full of warthogs as well, and we'd only seen a few sows and piglets. And that wind was just insane.
Yeah.
Insane. So, needless to say, we didn't get a buff on that day.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
That's the day we got it.
Did it? No, it wasn't the same day as the cat.
Yes, it was.
Didn't we get it the day after? No, it was the day after,
was
bud.
it the day after? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, day
because
after.
we had to still stay another day.
That's right, we did.
The plan was we were going to head off, and I was like...
That's right. I
Went
thought
to
they were the same day.
No, I was
10 days, and they start running together, man.
yeah. So eventually I had to go to the owner's daughter and say, man, please can we just book another night?
That's right.
So we can hunt another full day tomorrow because we'd only booked for the first 2 nights. Yeah. So we had night of arrival, night there. So we went to day, and then we had the third night. So I was like, please, can we just stay on? Because our main priority is buffalo. And they said, no problem. They fixed everything up, got us fixed up for dinner that night, and we went out ass early. That morning was the D-Day morning where we really, really hunted hard. Yeah. And that was when we did the big stalk.
We had 2 stalks that day.
Yeah.
But the one that really got hairy.
You could tell that story.
So I'm trying to remember how we spotted them. We spotted them from the top.
We spotted them from the lookout point, what they call 360.
Yeah.
It's about the only lookout point in this property where you can see all around you.
Right.
And we watched them coming across a clearing.
That's
but
right.
They were moving it. For some unknown reason, they were booking it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had kind of an idea of what general area they were in. And then we had to loop to get the wind in our favor.
So we did that. We got down there, and we started following tracks. That's what it was. We started
tracking them. Yeah.
And it led us into thick. Like, so we were at the edge of that clearing that they had walked through, and they had started walking off into the bush. And I'm right behind you, and at one point, there's like this small opening. And you stick your head through it and walk in there, and I'm like, all right.
That's game on.
That's what you want to do. Let's go. And so we did. We started weaving through all of this, and we eventually got to a place where it was tighter than the roads, but there were still places that we could see.
Little spots, yeah.
And I remember us walking up and glassing and trying to look around these corners and all, and then the next thing I saw was the tree.
Yeah.
Just moving.
And that was 15 yards in front of us.
And then you could hear the crunching.
Yeah.
You knew that. I knew, all right, something's eating. That's got to be the buff. And I think eventually that buffalo, I don't think I saw that one. I think it moved on down because I think the herd was moving that direction.
Yeah, they were moving that direction, yeah.
But I remember looking further down kind of this alleyway.
Yeah, you're a lot taller than me. You saw one go through.
I saw one cross over.
Yeah.
And then we started working our way around the left. And I mean, it just zigzags it's just like a snake trail through there.
Yeah.
And we made Hudson stay with the tracker.
Yeah.
And you and I started moving forward just kind of inch by inch by inch by inch. It felt like.
We were trying to just get visual because we could hear them eating, we could smell them, but we just couldn't get a visual on the buff. But we knew they were there. Yeah, they were right in front of us.
Well, yeah, because there was at one point where we got to this. It was almost like it was more than a 90-degree turn that went back this way that we couldn't see, and that was where I had seen that other buffalo was just beyond that point on a little, kind of a little rise. And when we got to it, my hearing's going. Like I've shot too many guns, and been involved in too many things in law enforcement. My hearing's about gone. But I remember you turning around looking, you're like, I can hear them right there. And I'm like, well, I'm glad you can. Thinking that in my mind because I can't. And then we took a couple more steps, and then I heard it, and I was like, if I can hear that,
that's close.
That's close. And that was the moment where you kind of eased up and you looked around the corner, and then the next thing I know, you're looking back at me going, get back, get back.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize, I knew there was something there, but I didn't realize what was going on until we got further back and you explained that you saw a calf standing there, and if the calf was there, the mom was just right on the other side of it.
So what happened there, guys, obviously getting into the thick of this now, and as I took that step around the corner to see if I can get visual, there was a calf literally 5 yards from us, sleeping with its eyes closed like that, and the noise that we were hearing was the mother just standing. I could see her butt, and she was pulling and raking on the trees, pulling the leaves down. And that was a little bit more close than I wanted to be.
Oh yeah, because
and we're not talking like a big calf, because normally those just run off and stuff like that. This is probably about a 2-week-old calf. It was a real little one, still quite silky on the coat. And I said to Tim, let's just back out. This is just getting a little bit too dangerous for what we need. And then we worked our way back, and somehow we bumped into some damn giraffe, and we thought, man, this is going to be the end of our stalk, because those buff we had to loop around, because it's quite a few buff together. We wanted to loop around them to get the wind in our favor to kind of see the rest of the herd, because on this property the herd had somehow split, and there was a bull that was tending to this group, and we weren't sure what bulls had taken off this other half of the herd. So we needed to get visual, and then these damn giraffes bust out there. Chaos. But fortunate for us, they ran away from the buff, and the wind was in our favor, so the noise all just carried. So we got to loop around. It took a bit of time through some thick stuff, bumping into an impala, and eventually we made our way close enough on a little bit of a high rise. I wanted to get myself off the edge to look down at the buff, because we'd noticed they'd started bedding down, and this was kind of getting to that midday time. And I don't know what, I'd seen the buff lying down the tops of the horns, and I don't know what made me look in the bush. I just saw this black dot, and I just stopped dead. And I picked up my binoculars, and everyone goes, "Oh, why do you use your binoculars to look through looking so close?" It's because it helps us look into the bush, guys. There's a reason why we use these damn things. And all I saw was a tail. And we stopped dead still there, and it was between us and where the other buff were bedded down. And I couldn't see what it was. So we sat there for a bit, trying to figure out what the hell's going on here, and what are we seeing? And then I noticed another young buff lying down. So I knew there were two buff in front of us, and I couldn't tell if there was a third. And eventually we left Blackie and Hudson to the one side again, and myself and Tim did a little bit of a boot scoot, belly crawl, got down, and we were looking into this stuff, and all I saw was an eyeball, looking through the binoculars, and I watched the ear, and that buff knew something was up. And again, all hell broke loose. Yes.
Yeah.
And that just was just buff everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tearing down the hill, and we thought they had kind of run on off, and then we stand up, and Hudson and Blackie came over to where we were, and the mom turned around. The cow
buff turned and came back to see what we were.
Yeah, it was like, okay, it's time to leave, time to go.
So in this group, guys, we realized that we hadn't found a bull.
Yeah.
So we kind of backed out there. We left that herd, and then we went back for our midday feast.
Mm-hmm.
And then straight after that, we didn't even downtime it and put our boots up. We took off out there because of the full moon. There was a good chance that buff were moving around in that midday period. Yeah. Normally animals move early in the morning, siesta in the midday, and then start moving late afternoon again. But there was a good chance that stuff was moving around at midday. And I remember getting to the top of that lookout point and starting to see some Nyala bulls coming out.
Yeah, there was something that walked right up on us.
And then we saw those blue wildebeest come out. Yeah. So it was a good gamble, if I say. And we still couldn't.
No buff.
See, damn rhinos started coming out. We were bumping into big old Chester. Yeah, gnarly old Chester. I still think it's the most pissed off white rhino I've ever bumped into. He wasn't a friendly fella. And then we decided, we sat up there for a good few hours.
For a while. And we
because
kind
it
of
was
talked
our
about...
only, it was our only option really now to sit and wait them out.
Yeah, because the more we glassed and looked, the more I think we were becoming convinced that they were on a particular side of the property.
The property, yeah.
Because we had seen sign driving through there, but no buff. Again, because of how thick it was.
Yeah.
And I think after glassing and realizing nothing was coming out, you made the decision. All right, we're gonna
go cut track.
We're gonna go find some track.
Yeah. So I said to the tracker, old Blackie, I was like, those buff are in that corner. We have looked high and low on the rest of this property. We need to go and cut track because we know we bumped into the herd there. And with the way things are going, with the rut still running right now, those bulls that aren't in the herd and their hot cows coming on, they definitely want to get into the herd because 2 weeks prior to that, those bulls were tearing each other apart there. They were really, bashing each other. So we took a drive there and we eventually just started looking on the road for track. And we did a loop and we found track.
Yeah, we found that fresh, the fresh droppings that we got out and looked at.
And we determined that was the herd. We followed that down right into the bottom of that valley and we determined that was that one herd that was heading that
up,
way.
Yeah.
And I still said to Black, I said, we need to find a separate bull tracks, lone bull tracks, because if we keep following these herds, we're not going to find what we're looking for. And we came around, we made a big loop, guys, and now we're running out of daylight now. This is getting into that, 4:30 time zone. It's not a cool time to hunt any big dangerous animal.
Yeah.
It's normally the time you see this stuff, and it's normally the time where big mistakes happen. And I remember coming around the bend and I saw one pile of poop on the side of the road. And I stopped the truck and I climbed out and I said to the tracker, I said, these bulls are lying here. Because it's one pile of doo-doo and a bull track this size. And then we went a little bit down the road and we saw the poop in the road.
In the road, yeah.
And I don't know what made me look to the left. And all I saw were the tops of bulls' horns sticking out the long grass. And I managed to drive the truck to hide it behind some bush. And I just said to Tim, Buffalo, we got to get out like now. And seize this opportunity where we can. Because we're 4 days into this trip and we haven't seen any bulls.
Seen bulls.
We saw the bulls on the first day. Mm-hmm. It wasn't even the first day of hunting, but we saw those bulls. And I managed to sneak around a bush. But obviously with us driving past, one of the bulls had stood up. And there was only one bull on this property that we weren't allowed hunting. And it was the main herd bull. And I spotted him. And I knew that old gnarly guy was with him. The two of them were there.
Yep.
And I said to Tim, the bull lying on the ground is the one we're after. And we threw the sticks up there and Tim got set up on him.
Yeah, and this is where, at the beginning of your hunt, you're talking with your PH, especially in dangerous game, about what shots we're going to take, what shots we're not going to take, what we're trying to look for. And of course, you want that broadside shot right on that front, low, right at where the leg meets that
body,
shoulder.
Yeah.
And this bull, like you said, these were the two that we saw on the first day.
Yeah.
And the thing that excited me about it when he stood up was I knew that was the bull, and I had taken pictures of him
previously. Yeah.
And you had sent some pictures that you had of him.
And I'd taken of him on that previous hunt. Yeah.
And I told you I'm a boss guy. I like
big old bosses.
And this guy had it. For where we were, he had big bosses. And we had talked about shooting, and you were, I don't like frontal shots.
I'm not a fan of the frontal shot. too many small errors happen with the frontal, but
zip down between the shoulder and the rib cage. Yeah. And now you just got a pissed off wounded buffalo
in the thick stuff.
Yeah. And when this guy stood up, he was giving that look, that you owe me money look straight at me, and all I had was a frontal shot. And I just remember being on the sticks and saying, "That's all I got, Wayne. The frontal's all I got." Wayne said, "Go for it.
Let him have it." Yeah.
And fired that first shot at him, and man, it made him sick, because as soon as it hit him, he hunched up, head went down, Bronco. And went to bellowing.
Yeah.
And I had practiced first shot off the sticks, come off, reload, and as the buffalo was moving away, shooting whatever you can hit at that point.
But
so that first shot caught him dead square here, and then as he's turning and running away, I caught him in the rear end.
Yeah, and then that's where you handbraked him.
Yeah, and then that bucked him around and gave me a perfect broadside shot, which I put right on his shoulder.
Yeah.
At this point, I went ahead and started reloading.
Yeah.
And I think you got your rifle.
I got my rifle, yeah, and then I fired one shot at him, hit him.
Yeah.
And then I fired a second shot because he was turning and coming like back towards us. Yeah.
And I fired one last shot.
And that dropped him.
As soon as he was as soon as he was going.
You hit him high up in the shoulder, and that thumped him. And he still lay there, and they started what they call the death bellow. Man, oh man, did his buddy come back pissed.
He was pissed off.
So that big herd bull swung back on us and locked eyes with us and wasn't going anywhere.
Nowhere.
He wasn't leaving his buddy. He threw that bull around like a rag doll. He hooked it up, tossed it in the air, and we must have been stuck there for a good 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Yeah, 30 minutes.
To see if he'd go off, and he never left.
And he never left. And lucky for us, this property is well equipped for hunting these big animals and stuff. So the guys came with the JCB front loader, and that was about the only way we could get him to move off. But he still didn't move off far. He just went behind the bushes.
Yeah.
So we managed to get the digger to load the buff up, and we actually had to cart the buff away to set him up for photos, because it was too dangerous to take the pictures where he was, because he was lying right up against that brush.
Yeah.
So that was our buff hunt. It was one rodeo in what I call injury time.
Yep.
It was like 20 to 5, quarter to 5, and we shot a buff on our last day there at the lodge.
And it got western. It was everything that I had wanted in a buffalo hunt. The excitement that was there, and of course, the buffalo that we took. The bosses on him.
Yeah.
He had the drop and the swoop, and he was the dogger boy. He's older. His tips are worn down. He's got battle scars all over him.
Yeah.
It was.
We could recognize him because he had a big ass scar all the way down his left side, and one right on the top of his rump. Yeah. Where he had been fighting with the other bulls. So we called him the big old scar bull. We could find him in any group. If we looked long enough.
Yeah, that was dream buffalo hunt. It went down with the excitement and nobody getting hurt, and you got a nice bull to show for it now. So that was good.
That's awesome, and that's the most important thing. Tim said it. No one must get hurt. So staying calm in the situation, just reading how it's going, and always be aware. Keep your head on a swivel, and there's no need for heroics.
Right.
Don't rush in there. Listen to your pH. And try and make the most pinpoint ethical shots. And the last 3 guys that I've hunted with now, and we've done 3 buff in the last 3 weeks. Excuse me. You guys have all practiced at home and done your homework, which makes it so much easier for us to guide clients who've spent time at the range shooting that rifle, shooting and racking another round. There's nothing worse than shooting and trying to admire what you've shot and not racking another round to shoot it again, especially when it comes to dangerous game.
Yeah.
So, I really appreciate you doing your homework on that buff, because, as you said, it got a little western, but we got it done. And then, guys, it was just a quick pack up, and we had to move off to start the next part of our trip, and Kudu was the next target.
Kudu.
And old Tim and I have a thing with Kudu. When he came out on his first trip, that is the only animal that got away from him.
I have Kudu voodoo, man.
He's got Kudu voodoo. If you want to see a case of buck fever, it's a real thing, guys. No one must ever tell you it doesn't happen. This man in a Kudu, he is cool, calm, and collected, shooting anything else but a damn Kudu. So on his first trip, he missed 2 Kudu on his first trip. And one of them was a damn sitter of a shot. The man is just excited for that hunt. And we had done some awesome hunting that trip. And this time round, I wanted to take you to a new property where it was more free range hunting. Guys, it's in our season. It's June. So we had a lot more properties open and available to us to hunt. And Tim likes hunting the open ranches because we get our boots on the ground, we walk and stalk, we climb big mountains, we really hunt hard.
We hunt.
Yeah. And I knew this was the right place to take you. There are no roads in this damn place. And we took Hudson and we started the next morning on our epic Kudu adventure. Hudson didn't think it was much of an adventure.
No, he was fine with the buffalo hunting. You know, you ride in the truck, spot something, kind of stalk a little bit, back in the truck, because he's been able to lay down and nap if he wanted to a little bit.
Yeah.
But he, going up the side of that mountain with us that day, when we got back down, he told me, he said, "Dad, I like buffalo hunting, but I don't like kudu hunting."
Yeah, so that first day we hunted really hard. Got to probably about midday-ish, I want to say. It was just after midday. And we decided to call it and we came back.
Yeah. I mean, I think we saw 2 kudu bulls that day.
So when we got up there, we bumped into the cows and the calf. And then on the one hill, we saw the one young bull. And the tracker had seen a big bull.
Yeah.
And then because we'd been to the taxidermy, Tim was like, okay, cool, he's keen on a water buck. And this property also had really good water buck on it. It had impala on it. It had your bush buck, your darker, really big pigs, mountain reed buck. We spotted some mountain reed buck on the hill there.
We did. Yeah.
But also still struggling with the wind. It was just one of those days. And we decided, no, we'll call it because we're going to try and get a warthog with Hudson. Let's come back. We hunt the afternoon for warthog.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're back on our property. We got some big warthog boars coming around frequenting the females here. And we decided to take a little walk. We thought, okay, we'll go. I got the trackers out on lookout points looking for bush buck for us. And we just decided to take a stroll to find some pigs. And this is the beauty about Africa, guys. You never know what's around the next corner. And I just remember we were going down the dip. We'd spotted the mountain reed buck. We were chatting about the mountain reed buck, how well they're doing. Obviously, with a lot of poaching in the area, we've really slowed down the poaching, and those reed buck numbers are really coming up. And we were walking to the spot, and I still was saying to Tim, there's a really good spot for bush buck on the other side. Yeah, let's get there. And I hadn't even finished my sentence. And this damn water buck walks out in front of us. Skyline straight across in front of us. And I threw up the sticks and I was like, Tim, water buck. And Tim didn't come. I'm like,
no. Because I thought, in my mind, we're hunting warthog for Hudson. And as soon as you threw the sticks up, I'm like pushing him, like, go, go, go. And then I realized you're talking to me.
Yeah.
Like, well, he wants me to shoot something. And so I got to the sticks and realized what it was. And I don't know why, but I just remember asking you, is it big enough? And you're like, shoot it. And, the first shot goes off. And we could tell it's a hit. We didn't realize until later it was actually low. It actually hit his leg.
Yeah.
And we were able to, we ran all the way across that field, and poor Hudson, you and I are running after this kudu into the setting sun, as a matter of fact. So like the lights in our face, doing everything we can to see him, and I'm like, come on. He's just walking, and you're on the radio with the trackers trying to keep eyes on
and he's
it.
got, and luckily for us, where we had lost visual. It was a bit of like a dead man's ground. He like vanished on us, and there's a big valley. And I knew the tracker was other side the valley looking down at bushbuck. So he'd walked over, and by absolute luck, that bull had gone just into the top of that valley and broke out the top instead of running down. Because that would have been a long ass night.
Yeah.
And he kept eyes on him for us while we were trying to cut him off. And then we were eventually spotted him in the pine trees. And then you made that excellent finishing shot on him. Yeah. So we ended up with a waterbuck. Yeah, first one for our property, first trophy bull on our ranch. It's open property, yeah. So another tick for you on a free roaming animal.
Yep.
And that was how we finished off that day. It was epic. So the next day we're planning to do Kudu again. So we asked Hudson if he wants to join. He tells Tim,
nope.
No, he ain't coming. He's staying back at camp. So Tim and I decide we're gonna hunt that property hard. You know, we head up. We go into the top of the mountain now. I've got a pack on my back. We're full of water. We've packed our meal for the day. We've got sandwiches and snack bars and fruit and stuff, because we're going to get to the top of that mountain and we're going to glass everything we can see to see if there's nothing lying down or bedded down or whatever. And my, did we walk our asses off.
We did. All the way to the
top. And all the way across the top.
All the way across the top. Halfway down. Like we came a little bit down and then
then we sat and we glassed.
See that valley and a little bit this way.
Yeah. And
then made our way further down to that rock ledge later and stayed there until the afternoon.
Yeah. And we sat there the whole day, guys, glassing, because it's a big mountain and you glass the whole bottom section, a lot of thorn trees and stuff. And we spotted one kudu.
One kudu.
You spotted it underneath the tree there.
Yep.
And we'd seen the mountain reedbuck, we'd seen a bunch of impala, and then we'd spotted a group of 12 waterbuck that came out. But everything came out super late.
Yeah.
And then we saw some 2 darkers and a lot of warthogs, but those kudu didn't come out. And my buddy's got a camera on the pole there on his property. And we get home, and true as nuts, he sends me a video. He has the bull walking past. But it wouldn't have been able to shoot. It was too late for us. Yeah. So we changed up roles. We decided, no, we're going to head to another property the next day. The place where you hunted your previous kudu at my cousin's. Massive big stock ranch. Yeah. Lots of open felt. And we headed out. It was 4:30. We woke up that morning. Yeah. And we took a drive. It's about an hour and a half. Call it 2-hour drive. Obviously, we don't take it easy on the gravel roads with the kudu moving and stuff. And as we were getting there, the sun hadn't quite got up. We bumped into our first kudu bull jumping into my cousin's property.
Right in front of the truck.
Right in front of the truck. So we headed there. We got ourselves set up and we started the hunt. And we spotted a young bull.
Yeah, as soon as we dropped the trackers off.
Yeah.
And came back and parked the truck, and as soon as we got out, there was a young bull. And I think we kind of moved in on him to get a
good look at him. Yeah, big body, but not what we were looking for.
Yeah. And then around and up the other side of the mountain we went.
Yeah.
And then across the top. I don't think we spotted anything as we were walking.
We spotted that one young bull.
The one young
that was
bull.
In the valley and moved itself over.
Yeah.
And then the radio call came in where the guy had spotted a cow bedded down, 2 cows bedded down, and a young bull. And another big bull that he could see, but he couldn't see the ends of his horns properly. So we stalked in on that. Yeah. Then we bumped into the two darkers under the tree.
Right.
Yeah. And then we spotted the young bull, but he clocked us and he barked at us, and that just triggered everything, and they took off down the valley, and we never got a glimpse of that big bull. And I'm sure, I still think it's the bull that we eventually spotted in the end. But they headed one way, and then we decided we're going to carry on the rest of our walk. And we got right into the corner of the property already now, and we'd spotted a bull coming towards us. And while we're trying to see what this bull's looking at us, you know that call on the radio when the tracker goes, "You got to come now, boss."
I don't even speak Xhosa, and just the way he
was
was talking
saying,
to you, I knew.
There's a big bull. You need to get you as fast as you can. So, to put you in perspective, we were miles away from him and miles away from the truck. So we had to turn around and, like, as Tim calls it, death march our asses.
No, we thought that was a death march.
We thought that was a death march. But anyway, we death marched our asses all the way back to the truck, and then hopped in the truck and then made our way to where he was to get off onto that ledge where he was lying down prone, spotting that kudu that was grazing or feeding in those bushes. Yeah.
Yeah, and as soon as we got there with him, and both of us got laid out, we could see the bull.
We could see the bull.
He was looking,
but we had no shooting lane. Yeah,
we had no shooting lane, and then we kind of moved over to the left and got set up. And where we got set up, he was looking right at us.
Yeah,
he had us.
He had us made, but he wasn't too sure what he wanted to do with that. He was still chilling there.
Even then, there was no shooting lane because there was brush all right in front of him. So we were trying to wait him out. And
we sat there for an hour and a half. Yeah.
And then he kind of moved, and we lost sight of him, but he hadn't gone out.
Yeah. So what happened there was he had turned, and he turned himself into a position where we could have shot, and we were trying to still get set up, and then I tried to get up, and I got this damn cactus in me. Because that place is full of jointed cactus or jumping cactus. Now I'm stuck with this stuff in my ass trying to pull it out, and I take my eyes off the bull. And when I look again, the bull's gone.
He's gone.
And the cows are gone. And I'm like, shit, have I screwed this up now? Have they just snuck out while this was happening? Man, and we looked, and we looked, and we couldn't see them. And we moved, and then my normal bovine cattle, my cousin's cattle fed right where those kudu were. We could see where the cows were, but no kudu. And then my mind started going, have we messed this up? Has this bull snuck out in this little riverbed and we didn't see him? So we eventually got up and we moved our asses across to get a better advantage on the bottom of the valley. We knew we had the tracker at the top section of the valley, and we glassed, and we couldn't see anything.
Couldn't see nothing.
Saw nothing. Saw Springbok. Springbok came running along.
Yeah.
So while I was radioing the tracker to say, man, has he still got eyes on the bull? He says, no, he last saw it in that spot. The other tracker jumped on the radio saying he'd seen a bull, but he was miles away from us. And we're like, hang 10, bud. We're not talking about your bull. We got a bull here in front of us. We need to figure out where it's gone.
Yeah.
And with that, they busted out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were both standing there going, there's no way they've gone out of here.
Yeah, there's no way they've gone out of here. And they busted out. And then eventually they ran out the riverbed. The bull followed the cow, and the cow ran out, and she stopped. And your bull came out. Gave you your first opportunity. Yeah.
This is painful, brother.
We got to share the truth, bud.
It's painful. Yeah, last time it was shoot and miss every kudu that I had an opportunity at, but this time, that shot, when it hit, I heard the same thing you did. That boom.
Yeah.
Just that, like you talking about.
I call it hit a drum of water.
Hit a drum of water.
It's this hollow sound. It's the worst sound you can ever have as a hunter. Yeah.
And he was gut punched.
Yeah.
And I tried, I think, 2 more shots at him.
Yeah.
As he moved off, and just buck fever, man. There's nothing else to say about that. That's exactly what it is, and every hunter experiences that.
Yeah.
But at this point, when that happens and he goes up and over, everything that happened last time just
came back,
flooding back.
Yeah.
Like, well, here we go again.
Yeah.
Now I've got a wounded animal, and we got to do everything we can to try to get it. In my mind, I just keep playing. I have the worst luck with these animals.
You start beating yourself up.
This is my animal that I just can't quite seem to get.
Yeah.
And then we started the real death march.
Yeah. So we took off up there, and with this, luckily the tracker had eyes on that bull for us, right to the point where it went over the next ridge and he couldn't see it. And I found 2 drops of blood, and eventually we saw the bull going on the ridge, and we tried to cut him.
Yeah.
And eventually he disappeared into the valley, and I was like, that bull's gone in here, but now there's no point in me carrying on cutting him. I need to get back on the track. And that's when we started the hard work, where we got back, got a tracker to us, and then we started following that track. And we worked the track without blood, guys, for hours. We shot the bull at 11, and we tracked that bull right until the evening.
Yeah.
It was 5:30 at night. And we tracked the bull into the basin before we lost him. We found him there, and he jumped. We bumped him at 40 yards. And Tim tried to take a shot, and his rifle went click.
Yeah, and we still don't know.
We still don't know if it was a dud bullet or it was an empty case. But Tim cycled it quickly. The bull ran and jumped the fence. We got to the fence line. Tim had a Hail Mary shot at it. We missed it. And then we took off. Like, I was over the fence, rifle in hand. Now it was just game on to try and stop the bull.
Yeah.
And I had the tracker come out onto the next ridge, and he ran his ass down the ridge, keeping eye on the bull, because we had lost sight because he'd gone through the trees and worked his way down. And I just remember running hell for leather on those damn stones, and next it came to an abrupt stop. Like complete handbrake up, ABS lights, emergency stop on no. And a cactus had jumped up and hit me on the back of the leg. So we stood there pulling that out quickly. And we took off, and I got eyes on the bull. And I said to Tim, the property's got a high fence that comes to an end where there's another game ranch or conservancy next to us. He can't jump at the bottom, because then he's in the neighbors. We need to get there. And by this stage, we've been going for hours. No water, no food. We were dry. Like, as Tim says, you're so dry that there's no more sweat coming out of you. And it's 30 degrees. That was the other thing that was killing us. And we managed to get to the bottom, and this damn bull jumps into the neighbors.
Yep.
And with that, he was going in a big basin in the shadows. I could see him, but Tim couldn't see him. And then I said, give me the rifle, let me try. There's only one way. I need to get another bullet in him so we could stop. And I just couldn't. I tried my best. Guys, we are professional hunters. It doesn't mean we're professional marksmen. Let's just get that straight out there. I've had a client ask me before, how do professional hunters miss? We miss just like every other person. In the heat of the moment, adrenaline, shooting something that doesn't belong to you, it's all a tied-in factor, but we're there to try our best. We don't want the animal to suffer, and we gave it our all.
Yep.
But by this stage, we were really now miles away from the truck, and we had to kind of boogie all the way back. We got hold of my cousin to get hold of the neighbor, because that's what we do to let everyone know that, this situation has happened, and we are trying to rectify it. So we need to get into your property to come and try and get the kudu. And the neighbor gave us the all clear, but we were still probably I want to say it took us about an hour. Hey?
Yeah.
It took us close to an hour to get back to the pickup.
Yep. Yeah. And that, when we got to that gate, because we cut all the way back across the property, and when we got to the gate and you ran on up the road to go get the truck.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've just collapsed and been.
Yeah.
And I remember you left your pack with me. I went in. I was eating oranges. I was drinking water.
Yeah.
Trying to get something in me, because I knew we weren't done. We were still trying to do everything we could.
No, we're still trying our best. Yeah.
But that was grueling. And then getting on the property and just I think we picked up his track.
Yeah.
I mean, it was best
we sent the tracker up over the hill where I last saw him going skyline past that tree.
Yeah.
And he did an excellent job by picking up the blood again up on top there.
Yeah.
And that gave us the idea of where he was coming down.
Well, and then
the guy told us he saw the bull.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was a guy leaving the property who'd actually, they saw a bull coming over. They thought it was a bit strange. But unfortunately, our message from my cousin to him got to him too late because the network's terrible. And when he walked back into his house with his phone, he started getting all the messages. Hey, there's a Kudu bull that's come over. And then by that stage, it was 2 hours later.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the time we'd got around there to try and pick up the track. And I'm sure we picked up his track again. And the bull had a telltale gait in him by now. And he had an open track. So they're closed feet. When an animal isn't wounded, they're normally closed. When they are wounded on a certain side, they bear more weight on one, and that what splays, it opens the hoof up. So that was that telltale track that we kept following. But no more blood, into the thicker things, and the sun set on us. And that's what happened. The absolute most gut feeling that you can get when hunting kudu or hunting any animal, and you as a hunter just can't get there.
Can't get it.
We tried our damnedest. There was no other way. The trackers worked hard. We worked hard. Unfortunately, this time I didn't have my dogs with me there. But even if I had my dogs, I don't think we would have got the bull because of the way it was bleeding and the fact that property is so full of that jointed cactus.
Yeah, your dogs would have had a hard
time. My dogs would have had a hard time.
We had a hard time on it.
You know, and I would have been more concerned trying to pull cactus out of my dogs than trying to follow the kudu. Mm-hmm. So it was a bit of a tough one. You know, you sit afterwards going, shit, if I had the dogs there, you know, maybe we got the bull. But also he wasn't broken enough. He still jumped fences. So the dogs would have actually got left behind at that first fence and at the second. And by the time they got to the bottom where it jumped was that electric fence, those dogs would have been hit by the fence and wouldn't have gone in there anyway. So we did everything in our power to try and get that bull. But it isn't an easy pill to swallow.
It's not at all.
Yeah.
Not
and then the long drive home.
Long drive back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you know, I think we've had this conversation last time we talked about kudu that I say every hunter has his unicorn. There's that one animal that just excites you so much to the point where you get that buck fever, like it shakes your soul. And you know, if I ever lose that in hunting, I don't know that I
didn't want to carry on
anymore.
Yeah.
And you've talked about it. For you, it's bushbuck.
Does the same thing to me.
You know, as someone that as a hunter who looks at hunting as a way to help with conservation, to know that there's a wounded animal left out there just disgusts me.
Yeah.
You know, and that was hard.
Yeah.
And then you put on top of it that this is that animal that I just can't seem to close on.
Yeah.
It was rough.
I still said to you while we were driving, while we were walking along that track, going there, I stopped and I still said to Tim, take a breath. I said, bud, you like a little schoolgirl on his way to school, getting to the front gate there and seeing the little boyfriend coming around and getting all giggly and nervous, and that's what you get every time trying to aim at a damn kudu.
Yeah,
the nerves just kick in.
They do.
And like I say, if you ever, you know, we both agree on it. If you ever lose that drive or passion or that feeling while hunting, you might as well just pack it all up because you got to have something that keeps you going.
Yeah, you do.
So it was a long drive home. We got home, spent the night. I don't think either of us slept.
No.
Thinking about that damn kudu.
No.
The neighbours looking for it. My cousins looking for it. They're still looking for it for us now. And yeah, then what did we do the next day? We came back. Next day we had a bit of a rest.
We had to rest.
We had a rest. We were absolutely finished. It was I think I still woke up dehydrated.
Yeah, I did.
It was bad. And we tried to hunt for a pig with Hudson again. Didn't get that right. And the wind blew, and then you and I went and sat in the blind for a bushbuck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sat in the blind for the bushbuck, and it was the craziest thing. We were sitting there, and it was deathly quiet.
Eerie.
It was weird.
Eerie.
Yeah.
Eerie how quiet they got.
And I think it was all to do with the way the change of the weather, because obviously a cold front was starting to kick in on us.
Yeah.
And man, oh man, we saw nothing. It was just weird.
Yeah.
So we headed back here, and the next morning we decided, well, we were just waking up, and obviously you still feeling a bit down and out because your bull hasn't been found. I'm trying my damnedest to try and find this man another kudu to hunt, because I cannot let this guy go home with my clear conscience for him to go home without a damn kudu.
Yeah, you were dedicated to it. And I remember I just kept telling you, man, it's not your fault. I'm the one that I screwed up. Because you put me on 3 or 4 bulls up to that point.
Yeah.
And I just hadn't been able to capitalize on it.
Yeah. And then eventually I said to Tim had seen some blessbuck and on the other property, and he said he'd be quite keen to shoot one. I was like, dude, I can make you a deal. Listen, they're not as big as the ones that are on that property, but we introduced some beautiful blessbuck here 4 years ago, and I've got a really nice ram. He lives on his own. Yeah. Would you be keen? And you said you'd take it on. And I think this was the key moment to flipping the hunt back into first gear and not worrying about stuff, because we did an awesome stalk on the blessbuck in the crazy wind. You picked up that 375 of yours and decided that's what you're going to hunt with for the rest of your trip, and you made the most pin perfect 140 yard shot frontal on a blessbuck and dumped its ass right there, and got another beautiful trophy from SA, something that you hadn't hunted before,
and the first on your farm,
and the first trophy blessbuck to be hunted on our farm. Yeah. So we were ticking off a lot of firsts, guys, as we were going along, and that was nice and early. It was before lunch, and I said to you, we're gonna go and get a bushbuck.
Yeah.
I got a good feeling I'm gonna pull a horseshoe out my ass, and we're gonna get a bushbuck in full moon,
which I was excited about, because when I won the hunt, that was supposed to be
on the package,
and we just never could.
We couldn't with the 5 days of rain, and we still hunted hard and sat in the rain and sleet and all the stuff that went with it.
Yep.
And there was this one spot where I said to Tim, I was like, buddy, if we go sit in this spot, there's a good chance of a bushbuck and there's a good chance of a kudu. I've got kudu on trail camera here, and our property is super thick. It's not the easiest place to hunt kudu, and it's the free moving game. So we took the challenge on. Now I still remember saying to my wife, we'll see you when the sun goes down, because if I don't see anything, Tim and I are walking our asses all the way back trying to find something. And yeah, we started our epic trip down this ridge,
steep ridge,
crawling through some places.
Yeah.
And we got to this beautiful krans, as we call it, like a small cliff that you guys, and it's got a old field in the bottom full of these old trees and like bramble bushes and stuff, and then the river running along there. So it's water, food, quiet.
It just looks like, when the way that we went, you're going through the grass and down into the ravine, and then you're coming up, and then as you start to come up, you get into the trees. It's dark, and you're climbing up that side of that hill, and then when you get up to that rock ledge that we were sitting on and look down, it's like Garden of Eden. I mean, it's green, and you've got the
palm trees and the
hornbills are soaring through there. We've got monkeys barking and birds everywhere. It's just a really cool place.
And bus of a warthog. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
And just across in the neighbor's property, one of the biggest pigs I've seen here. Makes this thing look small. So yeah, the absolute bus of a pig. And I said to Tim, you just got to keep glassing. Just keep looking. It's going to be boring. I call bushbuck hunting watching paint dry. It's by one of the most boring things to do. But if you got a view like that, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we were all just glassing, and I was seeing nothing and sitting there. And you were seeing nothing. And I kind of like put my binoculars down, and we were just sitting there taking in the scenery. And then I can't remember what you said. You was like,
I said, screw me. Because we had both just glassed and put down, and I was doing the same thing you were. I'm looking around, and all of a sudden I look down, and this is that moment where, like, am I seeing what I think I'm seeing? Because there's this chocolate brown thing standing there in the middle of this green stuff, and I'm like, no, that's a rock. And then I see the bush moving. I'm like, no, that's not a rock. But I don't want to say to my professional hunter, there's a bush buck, and be wrong about it. So I put my glasses up, and I'm glassing down and look, and sure enough, it's a bush buck. And I didn't know, the first thing came out of my mouth was F me. Like, where did that thing come from? And Wayne goes, he's like, what? And kind of find out later, you thought I saw a kudu that had walked out.
I thought the way he came out, I thought he'd seen a kudu. I was like, damn, is this like seen a kudu? This is my day. I've really pulled those horseshoes out my ass right now.
I mean, I just, having just looked around with glassing everywhere, I did not expect to see that bush buck there. But it did. It just came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Just
and that's bush buck hunting for you. Yeah. You'll be glassing the same spot 100 times, and then all of a sudden the thing walks out in front of you. Yeah. And for me, there were these damn organ pipe cactuses just in front of me. And I was like, where? He said, right down here. I'm like, I had to stand to see the damn thing, and then eventually I spotted it, and I was like, put my binoculars on, and I was like, Tim, you got to shoot it. That's a big thing. So I handed him my pack. He got himself set up on the ledge there, and the rest is history. You pulled up a perfect shot. Dropped him right there. But now comes the recovery. So the trackers are all up on high points. Luckily, we're in radio communication, and I'm like, hey, buddy, please go all the way back to the house. Go tell my wife to please get into the farm truck and bring her ass down this hill that she's never driven before. So she's going to learn how to four-wheel drive all the way down there to come and grab us while you and I make our descent and get through all that thick shit at the bottom to go fetch your bushbuck. Yeah. So, man, it wasn't a true bushbuck hunt. It was. It couldn't have been any better than that. That is the epitome of hunting bushbuck in the Eastern Cape. Yeah. And we got down there, and he was an absolute beauty. I had you put him up on my shoulders, and I marched his ass out to the clearing where the truck could get. Wasn't far, but still made it there. That when the truck got there, we were ready to go, load up and head back. So we had a crack of a day. Two beautiful animals on that day, and I was still hunting for a kudu for this man.
Still wanting to get the kudu.
Still wanting to get a kudu for this man. Yeah. So now, guys, we have gone all the way to the point now where we have basically 1 day left of hunting. Because the last day, which is today where we're sitting, is a beautiful Addo trip, taking Hudson to go see some elephant and stuff. And I got phoning around, and guys were not willing to come off their prices or give me good deals. And eventually I phoned my neighbor, and he was like, hang on, I've got somebody for you. It's not an easy place to hunt, but he's willing to give us a deal if we go hunt there. And he gave us a great deal that Tim could get the opportunity to go and hunt a second kudu. And that was in the morning. I got the AOK in the morning.
Yeah, like you walked over here.
I walked over and I was like, bud, I've got an opportunity for you, and you better better take this with two hands, because there's no ways I'm going to get you a kudu at this price again. And you said, oh, well, let's go. And we grabbed some waters in the coolers. We didn't pack anything. Really, we just took water with that. Yeah. I don't think we even took meals with. I think because we'll get to that damn part. So we just threw some water in, and we get to the property. And I've hunted the property before. It's this massive big valley, and it is thick as anything. And we get to glassing, and the guys say the kudus are here and the kudus are there, and we look at all of these spots going around, and we don't see any giraffe, nyala, zebra, blue wildebeest, loads of game. And eventually we decide to get on top of the hill to the lookout point, and we stop there, and we're all busy looking, and Tim again goes, what's that? He's clever.
I don't want to be that guy.
And I look at, and I take where? He says, in the furthest clearing, and I look there, and he has this absolute monster of a kudu bull
Yeah,
with two
you're
cows.
saying, there's a kudu bull.
There you
There's a
go.
kudu bull.
I mean, like, when I look in the binaries and my thing, there's a kudu bull. Now that's a kudu bull. Now, you know what I mean? Tim knows me well enough now with 2 trips out. When I go, that's a kudu bull, then I take off. So I take off running, like let's get going.
You have a whole nother gear when you see something like that. It's a whole nother gear.
And then I shout to the one track. I say, "You stay here. Keep eyes on the kudu. We got to get down there now because now the wind is also not in our favor. So we got to kind of trying to work this whole process, and we get ourselves all the way back down there because we'd just been down there and we hadn't seen anything. And we started our stalk. We left the pickup, took off, trying to get the wind in our favor. But what I didn't realize when we got into that clearing where those kudu were, from the top it looks open, but there were these damn lantana bushes. It's like a bramble, guys. It's got those hook thorns on it. It grabs onto you and it doesn't let go. And holy smokes, this is the thick stuff, and the wind is blowing the wrong way. And then the radio call comes over. No, the kudu have gone into the bush. I'm like, we've screwed this up. But anyway, let's keep going through. So we snuck through, and then the radio goes, no, the kudus have come back out again. So they obviously have gone down to drink water because it's all along the river there.
Yeah.
And as I popped out to get visual, because I could see the tree where the kudus had been standing and sleeping, but I saw no kudus. And as I popped out in that spot and I just looked over the bush, I just dropped down because that kudu bull was looking straight at us. But his butt towards us, looking over his shoulder. I threw up the sticks. And this whole hunt, I've been trying to get some footage for you guys to show you these epic impact shots. But this time, Wayne was in no mood for no damn cell phone.
No.
Stuff that. Tim, get on the sticks and get yourself
It's
ready.
like the 100th kudu bull I put you in front of. Get this thing.
Tim gets lined up on this bull. And he eventually got his ass towards us and eventually turns broadside and a cow walks in front of him. And I said, Tim, just hang 10. And as that cow went clear, Tim let him have it. And then what happened, bud?
Same sound as before.
Same sound as before, boys. Center punch, drum shot, barrel of water. I went cold. To say nothing else, I went cold. I said, Tim, you got him. Big flaring tail, kudu bull down into the river. And we're like, oh shit. Took off down there. We came right to the spot where he was standing. But there's just kudu track
Everywhere.
Everywhere. We can't find a drop of blood. And I think this time is where I say to my buddy DeVet, yes, he's been a trooper this whole trip. He really helped us out on this one.
Big time.
And I said, bud, please just take the pickup, take young Hudson, take him back to the lodge, go fetch me my dogs. There's no blood here. And we know it's hit. And we've got to make or break this hunt. We've got to try our utmost with the damn dogs here and hope they pick the scent up. So he rushed back, and it probably took him close to an hour and 45 minutes to get all the way back here, nearly 2 hours. And myself and the tracker worked that track, and we kept coming back and going, there's something we're missing. There's something we're missing. And eventually he stood at the river there, and the water was clear all below. Because if anything crosses a river, it goes all murky. And he stood and he looked at me, he says, the water's murky here. But the pool, this looks like a kudu was drinking here. He says, but hang on now, the water's murky. And he looked across and there's a mud trail. And we saw like wheel spin marks. So I just sent him across the river further down. So I said to him, well, it's my turn to strip down. Pants off, boots off. And I walked in. That water was damn cold.
Yeah, it was cold.
Crossed there, and as I climbed the bank, I saw it was a kudu track.
Yeah.
And I was like, this damn bull climbed here. Went up a little further, watched where the track turned, but now you're under thick canopy cover, guys. So we're working with a lot of red and brown leaves and things that throw you off.
Yeah, there's no sunlight through
There's no sunlight through it. And I found a red leaf with something that looked like a drop of water. You can see where it hit, and it makes those little finger lines off of it, and that was a drop of intestine fluid. And I went a little further and I found the blood right there. Not a lot, but enough blood for me to say, right, when my dogs get here, this is what I'm going to put them on.
Yeah.
Man, oh man, the dogs get there. Timmer crosses the river further down with the tracker. You could tell that part coming up there.
Good grief. I was glad that I wore, I've got some of the pants that zip off into shorts. I was glad I wore those that day. Pull my boots and socks off, unzip, and go walk right across, and everything's bone dry.
Yeah, but this man's 6'4", so we all nuts deep in water while he's knee deep. So don't even fool you.
Yeah, and then working our way down that side to get to you, man alive. There were like 3 places where we were, turn around and come back, and I think at one point I just decided, we just got to get over there. I'm going through this, and I think George, your tracker, decided he was going to go down and just skirt the bank.
Yeah.
And he could do that, but I was too big, and I'm carrying a rifle. I'm not risking falling in there. And I just went for it. I just started fighting my way through that stuff. And
I could hear you guys coming along, but you weren't getting any closer.
Yeah, I mean, I was at one point on my belly crawling through stuff, trying to get over there to you, and eventually made it.
Yeah.
And here we go.
So DeVette arrives with the damn dogs. And I think, okay, cool. I'm going to call my dogs. They're going to swim across this river and come to me. So DeVette hops off with the truck. He gets in there. And as the dogs come off the bank there, they hit that track. Man, oh man. And old Rip, he just wanted to book.
He's ready.
And Rocky, they were all excited. But they wouldn't cross the damn river. So my dumbass had to go back in the river to go grab the dogs. And while I'm grabbing the dogs, trying to get them across, they're splashing in the water. I'm getting soaked again. And I was already dry. Climbed up the bank, handed them to the tracker, and told him to hang on to them so I could get dressed, so I could work the dogs before we get going. So I climb up this muddy bank again, get my boots and pants on as quick as I can. And getting dressed wet there's no fast way of doing it.
Yeah.
Nothing goes back on the way it came off.
That's right.
And eventually, I put Rip on the blood and I put Rocky on the blood and I let them go. Man, those dogs worked this way, that way, this way, that way. And eventually, I saw Rip just disappear. And I was like, man, buddy, this is your first track you working. He's a really young dog. I got lots of, high expectations on you now. It wasn't even 5 minutes. And those guys had that bull. They had him.
Yeah.
Goodness me, then it was game on. Thick cover. We were crawling. We were crashing. We found some more blood. We lost the track. Eventually I said to the tracker, there's no ways we can track here anymore because there's too much foliage. There's too much thick shit. We got to just keep listening for those dogs.
It wasn't even, at your cousin's place. At least it's wide open, and you could run and you could move. But now we're running uphill through thick stuff.
Shit. Yeah.
So I mean, it's absolutely wearing me out. Now, what was it? 25 kilometers that we did.
We did 25 kilometers on that day on that wounded bull.
On that bull.
At 15 odd miles. This bull had us running. We've only had a day to kind of recover from our previous excursion.
Yeah. Neither one of us had breakfast that morning either.
No, because we ran out here so quickly to go and get hunting on Kudu. And holy smokes, the dogs just kept working. And they kept working. That bull kept jumping and running and jumping. We went all the way to the top of that mountain to realize the dogs had lapped us already and gone the other way. And eventually we made it back to the truck, getting the bearings where the dogs were, and old DeVette heard the dog barking below him. He got down there, and this is also sun setting. This is 2.5 hours the dogs have been chasing this Kudu, and we've been trudging backwards and forwards in this thick shit. And eventually the bull breaks out below him with the dogs behind it. He tries his utmost to get a shot at it, and that is game over. The dogs were officially stuffed. They had nothing left in them. And we made our way down there. We got there. We tried to work the track again. It was 4:45 in the evening, and it was a second bull. Oh my goodness!
No,
second bull.
I'm really sick.
Now you can Now Tim's not happy.
You might as well have shot me in the gut.
I'm not happy. It's as an outfitter, we always want to please, and as a PH, you really want your clients to get the animals, and we try our utmost for clients.
And as an ethical hunter, you don't want to leave wounded animals.
Exactly, man. And we've already got this trip planned to go to Addo, to take Hudson to Addo. And I said to Tim, I was like, buddy, you got a tough decision to make here. We got to come back here and look for this bull. And give up the Addo trip. And he's like, I promised my son, we got to take him to Addo. He's going to go look at elephants. You know, it's his trip to Africa. So Tim and I went to Addo, and the vet kindly offered to come and fetch my trackers, fetch my dogs, take his guys, and take a team to go look for our Kudu bull. And we busy going around Addo, waiting for these messages, and eventually that message comes through. The dogs have got him, we found him. And funny enough, that bull had gone and expired probably 200 yards from where the dogs had last put him up.
Yeah.
And they just had run out of steam. And I know for a fact when I think Rip had found the bull, but because the bull was dead, he didn't react against it, didn't bark at it to point us in the right direction, being a younger dog.
Because he ran off.
He ran off, and he had that
for a while.
He had that track, yeah.
Yeah.
And then he just came back because no one was getting to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And by that stage, Rocky was done. So Rocky, guys, is a little dapple dachshund, and Rip is a little like a foxhound. So there's a size difference there. So the legs on this guy were done. He's like me. Rip's like Tim, long-legged. Takes one stride, I take 45 strides. To keep up. So yeah, that phone call kind of like just took the whole weight of all of us, and the photos coming in, and I was like,
but then it was, well, forget the elephants and forget the lions. Listen,
let's get back because we need to get a picture with this damn bull.
So we started heading out, and like we had met somebody coming in. They were like, "Hey, have you seen the elephants?" Like, "Oh yeah, we just saw a ton of them back here."
Go that way.
And they're like, "Well, there's lions up here." I remember we were driving out.
Yeah.
The lions were there. I was like, "Okay, I got a picture of a lion. Let's go."
Let's go.
We took off.
We grabbed some lunch quickly, and then we headed back. And I said, "No, I'm not stopping here to do. Just get your rifle. We're gonna go take some photos with your bull."
Yeah.
The guys had kept the bull, put the bull in the freezer. He had a bit of rigging and he was stiff because he had passed, in the night somewhere. So he was nice, he was stiff. But they managed to do a good job of getting him all flexed out. And we took off down there. We got some epic photos of him. But what a bull. What a bull. And I'll never forget saying this to Tim on the first trip. The uglier the bull, the longer the horns. And this bull is typical ugly ass bull. He is figure 8, narrow, and the deepest of barrels that you could find on a true Eastern Cape Kudu bull. Dark face, dark mane, black neck, Kudu bull. And I remember seeing him when Tim shot him, and he looked at me and I just saw those big barrels. And then I saw the ends of his horns hooking, and I was like, shit, that's a big bull. And we all started guessing now, what is this thing going to measure out? And I'm so out of practice, guys. I don't hunt a lot of clients anymore. And I looked at the bull and I was like, I want to call him 55, but I'm not going to be the one like over measuring him here. But when I did see him when we were hunting, I said 48 to 50. So I'm going to stick to that 50 mark. And I went around asking the guys, how big is this bull? 50, 48, 50, 50, 52. And everyone was sticking around that 50 mark. And I said to Tim, we've got to come get a tape measure. So we came back, dropped Hudson off. The guys are busy caping off. We headed back there with a tape measure. And the real magic came out. We started running that tape there. And I said to Tim, I was like, shit. I was like 47, 48, 50. And I keep pulling that tape. And the tape's only 60 inches long, eh? And I got to 54, 56, and we got a 56, an almost 56.5-inch Kudu bull in the Eastern Cape of South Africa.
Yeah.
What a absolute mammoth of a Kudu bull. A true once-in-a-lifetime Eastern Cape bull.
Yeah, so your cat's bigger, but my Kudu's bigger.
And I'm here to shoot a 50-inch bull and I've grown up. I'm nearly 40 years old. Yeah, and this man gets himself a 56, nearly 56.5-inch Kudu bull. Yeah. What a beauty, man. And what a way to end the safari.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say. And you know, and looking at that bull, I was just so happy to have a Kudu in my hands.
Yeah.
To know that there's one in the salt after all that we've been through last hunt and this hunt to try to make it happen. And then you're getting text messages from your brother. Does Tim know what he's done?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I got a Kudu.
Yeah.
They're like, no, man, that's for here in Eastern Cape. That's a monster, and it's humbling because of all that we had to go through to get it done. But it's true hunting.
Yeah.
The ups and the downs that we all experience, and to be able to hold my unicorn.
Your
in my
unicorn.
hands,
Yeah.
Epic ending to this safari.
Yeah. No, guys, we've had a crazy ride. It's been one hell of a hunt, and I couldn't have asked for a better client to come and experience this with us. And a lot of firsts this trip, a lot of unbelievable trophies. And I'm looking forward to our next adventure, but because, man, I think the storybook's only starting to be written.
I agree with you.
Yeah. So, guys, if you're enjoying these podcasts, remember, hit the like and subscribe button on the YouTube channel. Interact with us. Let us know what more you want to hear about, more epic stories. And if you're wanting to get out and come and hunt with us, find us on social media. Get out here and come and experience the Eastern Cape like Tim did. Take the chance on hunting in Africa. It'll be way worth your while. And don't look past the small guy. The big guys are great, but the small guys, find you those 56-inch Kudu bulls in the Eastern Cape. So if you're wanting those awesome optics that I've been offering to everyone, hit the link in the bio, check them out, get yourself a pair of Vector brand, and I'll drop a discount code right over here. So, till later, guys. Cheers. That was a good one.
Yeah, that was good.
I hope my freaking phone's still charging.